So we continue. The next topic is identify the contingency factors that favor either the mechanistic model or the organic model of organizational design. We will discuss the mechanistic model and the organic model first. The model of the organization designs, we can broadly classify them as either mechanistic or organic. Let's try to map them according to the 6 elements we have seen of organizational structure. We have this work specialization, departmentalization, authority and responsibility, span of control, centralization and decentralization, and formalization. We have mechanistic model and organic model, and see that how these elements are comparing to each other. Work specialization, we have in mechanistic model it is high, and in organic models it is low work specialization. Departmentalization in mechanistic model, it is rigid structures, rigid departmentalization is there, whereas in organic model it is highly adaptive and flexible structure. Authority and responsibility in mechanistic model is clear chain of command and unity of command there, whereas in organic model there is formal chain of command may not be allowed, may not be followed. It may be followed, it may not be followed. Emphasis on collaboration, both vertical and horizontal, is there. The span of control in mechanistic model, there is narrow span of control leading to taller structure and more bureaucracy, lengthening the communication channels and centralization. Whereas in organic model, we have wider span of control leading to flatter structures. Centralization and versus decentralization, mechanistic models mainly are centralization is there, decision making is at the top level, top management, whereas in organic model decentralized decision making is there. Regarding the last element, formalization, mechanistic model are high formalization is there, many rules and formalized communication channels are there. In organic model, low formalization is there, fewer rules are there, and informal communication is encouraged and takes place. So we have two models, basically we can say two extremes here, mechanistic models and organic models. And we have seen the elements of organizational structure, the 6 elements, how they differ from each other. Now, what are the contingency variables in deciding the structure, either mechanistic or the organic? We will discuss strategy and structure, size and structure, technology and structure, environment and structure. So first of all, strategy and structure. If the strategy is to pursue innovation, then the organic structure works well. While if the pursuit is of cost control, cutting the cost, then mechanistic organizations or mechanistic structure works well in cost leadership strategy. Regarding the size and structure, organic, they say that less than 2,000 employees can be organic. This 2,000 number is kind of a magic number here, perhaps coming from some surveys of organizations which are organic and in nature, and perhaps they found that as the size of the organization grows and more than 2,000, then the organizations tend to be more mechanistic. Technology and structure. We see over here three different types of technologies. There is a smartphone or tablet technology. We can see the resume there, and we see some kind of pharmaceutical industry. So we see that when the technology is smartphones or tablets, there is a standardized assembly line. In resumes, custom design and print is there, and in pharmaceutical companies, there may be continuous flow of production process, etc. Environment and structure. If the environment is stable, mechanistic structure works well because they become more efficient in cutting cost. Whereas if the environment is dynamic, then organic structures are well suited for that because they can easily change, they can easily react to the situation, and organic structures are well suited for such an environment. Next, we are going to talk about the comparison of traditional and contemporary organizational designs. We have traditional organization designs are simple structure, functional structure, and divisional structure. In fact, we have seen already functional structure, and the divisional structure we have also seen. The divisional structure could be geographic one, or it could be related to product or services. So let's see the simple structure first, and again we will try to map this according to the 6 elements we have discussed earlier. In simple structure, the work specialization is low, departmentalization is also low. Simple structure basically starts when the organizations are new, maybe small businesses, a newly started business. There is a simple structure. So work specializations are low. People are given broad tasks, and similarly, departmentalization is not that rigid. Low departmentalization is there. Authority and responsibility, unity of command is there. Authority centralized in a single person, because the person, the boss, maybe the owner of the company also, and he is handling all the problems, and his authority is there. So he's the most of the decision making is centralized in a single person. Span of control is wider span of control in simple structures. Because it is possible that you cannot afford to have so many so narrow span of control, so that you have more managerial levels. Maybe one manager may be having several employees to supervise, so it's a wide span of control. Centralization is there. Decision making, as already said, that the authority is centralized in a single person, so decision making is at the top level. Formalization, since it is a simple structure, it's a newly formed organization, small businesses, little formalizations will be there, little rules, less formalization will be there. The simple structure is mostly used in smaller businesses, and it's fast, flexible, inexpensive to maintain, and has clear accountability. But as more employees are added, most small businesses tend to become more specialized and formalized, and thus becoming more bureaucratic. Another traditional structure is functional structure, an organization design that groups similar or related occupational specialities. We have already discussed these functional structures. The grouping is according to the specialities, like marketing, like production, engineering, accounting, R&D, etc. Divisional structure. An organization structure made up of separate business units or divisions. So divisional structures can be that each division may have its own all the functions there, own function there. So it could be it has its own planning, its own division is almost working as a separate entity. So it is possible that we have so much of what we call it duplication of resources there. So in geographical structures or product structures, this kind of things may happen, that there is duplication of resources. In this respect, it becomes little inefficient. On the other hand, it creates autonomy to the division, and they can have their own decision making, etc. And only perhaps finance may be common, or human resources department can be common, but most of the other departments will be similar or same in each division. Now we talk about contemporary organizational designs. The contemporary organization designs are team structure and matrix and project structure and boundaryless structures. The team structure is in which the entire organization is made up of work teams that do the organization's work. So they work in teams, and it's more organic in nature. They work on the teams are given the teams are empowered, and there is no disadvantages, no clear chain of command, etc. The matrix and project structures, we have already discussed this also. Matrix structure is having a kind of a matrix. We have the functional managers like design, engineering, manufacturing, contract administration, purchasing, accounting, human resources. These are the functional departments. And then people are working on projects like alpha project, beta project, gamma project, omega project, etc. And these people are taken from these from the functional departments like design group, manufacturing group, or manufacturing people, or one person, maybe a group of people working on that, contract group, purchasing group, accounting group, and human resource group. And they are working on alpha project. Similarly, the other groups are working on beta projects, and so on. In this type of structure, the flexibility of usage of staff is there, and it's good, it's flexible, it's maybe efficient utilization of resources. But on the other hand, it has some disadvantages, as discussed earlier also, that it may lead to conflicts between the managers and employees also, because employees have their parents' departments whose functional managers are in power to give them bonuses and raise, etc., whereas they would like to work on projects. So it is kind of a conflict of interest is there as well. But it has its advantages as well, and many organizations use matrix structures in there. Project structures is a structure in which employees continuously work on projects. So the one project finishes, then they work on another project, and so on. This is a project structure. Now, the interesting contemporary design is boundaryless organizations. An organization whose design is not imposed by a predefined structure. It is these are a virtual organization and network organization. A virtual organization consists of small core of full-time employees, and then outside specialists are hired temporarily. They rely on freelancers, and organization enjoys a network of talent without unnecessary overhead and structural complexity. And the network organization is very similar. It is a kind of a modular organization. It uses employees to do some work activities, some part of the project or some part of the product is made, and then a network of outside suppliers provide the rest of the product, components, or work processes. So this is two types of organizations we have discussed: virtual organization and network organizations. The concept of boundaryless organization was came up with the General Electric CEO Jack Welch, who said that the organizations should be made boundaryless. There is no internal boundaries like horizontal boundaries, work specializations, or departmentalization boundaries. Should be cross departmentalization cooperation is encouraged. Similarly, vertical boundaries are also eliminated, that anybody can talk to senior managers without any problem, and even in fact the external boundaries are also eliminated in a way that employees or managers can communicate directly with their suppliers or their distributors or other stakeholders, etc. So virtual organization and network organization work well in these boundaryless organization types. Discuss the design challenges faced by today's organization, some contemporary issues. The current organization design challenges: keeping employees connected, as now telecommuting is coming commonplace. People can work from home or from coffee shop or any convenient place or a venue. They can work. So one of the thing which is concern is how to keep them connected. Of course, there are ways to connect them. Nowadays, it's through internet, maybe through key fobs, etc. They can easily log on to the computers, intranets of organizations, and they can communicate. The issue of security is there, because these people are working outside the organization, and the concern for security and data breach may be there. So this concern is there. Another is managing global structural issues. Many of the multinational organizations, they are working in different countries, so the global structural issues are there. Maybe the structure-wise, the organization structures may be similar in developed countries and developing countries, but perhaps in developing countries there is more centralization, and there may be more controls. Explicit controls may be there, which may be needed in developing countries, and may not be that much required in developed countries, where the workforce may be more educated and the strong cultures exist. Another issue maybe is that each country has its own laws. Managers may not be able to bring the foreign workforce into the organization. They cannot easily fire local people, etc. These kind of things may be there. So managing global structure issues are there. Another is building a learning organization. We will talk about building a learning organization. Many organizations are trying to be now becoming a learning organization, which they can learn, they can change, they are flexible, there's more cooperation, more innovative, etc. We will see this organization design. And then designing the flexible work arrangement. We will talk about this in the coming 2 slides or so. So building a learning organization. Learning organization doesn't mean that it's a kind of a university or so, or a research organization. Any organization can be a learning organization. It means that the organization is learning from its mistakes. It's learning from the situations. They're changing, they're fast, and there is less of rigidity, etc., and less of formalization. So the organization design may be boundaryless. People work in teams, and the empowerment is there. Teams are empowered to make decisions. And the organization designs are like that of learning organization. Another attribute is information sharing. The information sharing is open, timely, and accurate. Leadership, there is a shared vision and collaboration is there. The leadership is more of a democratic in nature, and shared vision and collaboration is encouraged. The culture is strong, mutual relationship are there. People understand the requirements, the processes of an organization, and there is a sense of community, caring, and trust. The strong cultures are there of learning organizations. So this is a kind of a learning organization which can respond to the changing situation, dynamic environment, and also it is an innovative environment in which teams are making decisions and making coming up with launching new products, or working on new services, or working on some problems together. They are empowered to make decisions, etc. This is some attributes of a learning organization. We talked about flexible work arrangements. Telecommuting is becoming common in many organizations, especially in the West. People work from home, employees work from home, and it saves money and overheads, etc. It saves the time of the employee of traveling and expenses. They can work from anywhere, from home, from coffee shop, from any other venue, library, etc. That is called telecommuting. Another is compressed work week. People are in some countries, in European countries, etc., are asking for compressed work week, where people work 4 days and they have long weekend. They may work 4 days, each day working for 10 hours. So the total work hours are the same, 40 hours per week, regardless of how they work, 5 days or 4 days. They finish their 40 hours of their work time in a week. Flex time is flexible time, where organizations who are working more than 12 hours or more than 8 hours, maybe 12 hours or 24 hours. Here the flexible time is there. Organization and the managers can make employees to give them flexibility, that they can work for example, in Monday they can work 4 hours, and Tuesday they can work for 12 hours, etc. In a week they have to complete the 40 hours, and with certain limitation, of course. So this is the flex time concept there, which is also coming common, and these are the issues with management as well, how to deal with these issues, etc. Job sharing is also coming common, where one job is shared by two or more employees, and people like to have this job sharing when they don't want to have commitment, full-time commitment. On the other hand, it's also good for the organization, because when they need people, they can hire more people. They can get those people when the demand is not there. Then they just can only one person just work part-time, etc. So job sharing is one job is shared by two or more people. And contingent workers. Contingent workers means that these are freelancers. They can be hired by the organization when the need arises. In United States, for example, the statistics shows that organizations have 30% contingent workers, and by the end of the decade, it is claimed that the contingent workers will be about 40% or so. Contingent workers are the workers, freelancers. They are not permanent employees. They are only hired when needed, and this saves a lot of money to the organizations, because they don't have to. A lot of overheads can be avoided. Maybe they don't have to pay the medical benefits or other benefits which permanent employees want. So, in this chapter, we have discussed the organizational structure, 6 elements, and these elements were work specialization, departmentalization, and then authority and responsibility we have discussed, and we have discussed the difference between authority and power, and also the chain of command and unity of command. We have discussed the span of control, which is the 4th, we can say, element, and 5th element discussed is centralization versus decentralization, and the last element was formalization. Then we discussed some generic structures like organic structure and mechanistic structure, and the attributes of these two structures, comparing with the 6 elements we discussed. And then we discussed in this lecture what are the contingency factors that makes the organization either mechanistic or organic. And then we discussed some contemporary designs, and also the traditional designs. In traditional design, we discussed simple structure, functional structure, and divisional structure. And we discussed in the contemporary designs the team structures and matrix structures, project structure, and boundaryless structures. And finally, we discussed some issues, contemporary issues. We discussed the learning organizations, the flexible work arrangements, and etc. We discussed that flexible work arrangements, the global demand, the structures, etc. All these things we have discussed, the contemporary issues related to management. And then thank you very much for listening this.